Powering Chicago, for those who don't know and who are in the booth today, we are the unique labor and management partnership between the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 134, and the Electrical Contractors Association of Chicago and Cook County, where we consistently invest in better construction, better careers, and better communities. I want to make sure I get a chance to introduce our learned panelists of today. First, we have Joe Kilcoyne. He is an IBEW Local 134 business representative for renewable energy. He's also Illinois IBEW Renewable Energy Fund trainer. We also have Nick Pupich, Director of Controls and Specialized Solutions with Connelly Electric. And last but never least, we have Gisselle Duran, Director of Channel Marketing for Blink Charging. All right? So we're going to start out first with Joe Kilcoyne. So Joe, can you give me a little bit of background of who you are, what you do, and give me information as far as what you've seen in the EV market?
Absolutely, and thank you, Bert. Thank you all for being here today. We're really happy to be up here having a conversation with everybody. First and foremost, I'd also like to say we can talk for hours on these subject matters, and I know that there's a lot of questions out there, so as we wrap up this panel, please feel free to find us on the floor here so that way we continue these conversations in person with more questions and advice and steer you in the right direction. So thanks, Bert. My name is Joe Kilcoyne, representative for IBEW Local 134 as a business representative and a trainer for the Illinois IBEW Renewable Energy Fund. And we are very happy to be here talking about electric vehicles with Powering Chicago. And we're going to take it from a couple different perspectives here up on this panel. First, I'm going to talk about a mindset shift that's going to have to happen as we move into these vehicles, as we start driving them, as we start experiencing what it's like to have an electric vehicle, owning it, borrowing it, renting it, leasing it, all that kind of stuff that goes along with that. And that mindset shift is going to take place in a couple different key areas. First, we're going to talk about budgeting, right? A lot of people have questions on how are they going to budget for a car, right? This is going to be a little bit different than buying a traditional internal combustion engine car because you might have some behind-the-scenes costs with the charging infrastructure that will be put in place as well. Your home, your apartment may or may not have the capabilities to plug into right away. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today so that you understand, hey, as I'm looking to budget for that vehicle, I might need to work in some considerations for upgrading the home, making sure that I could charge in the amount of time that I think I will be needing to be there to charge, and all those sorts of questions. When we move on, and we're also going to have a mindset shift on safety, okay? Right now, we're pulling up to gas stations and fueling up our car. If there's a spill out there, we drive down the street to the next charging station, or next gas station at the time, right? And we can go up to it, and something's broken, we move on. And it's the gas station that's going to have the responsibility to make sure that that place is safe, otherwise we'll move on. As we start owning this equipment and we have charging infrastructure in our homes, we're going to have to take the responsibility to make sure that we're maintaining this equipment properly, that we're taking care of it, one, for our own investment, but also safety for ourselves, our family, our loved ones that might be coming in and around that area as we charge. So making sure that we're taking care of that equipment is big. We're also going to look at the mindset of fueling up. There's going to be a different conversation that you have with yourself, with your loved ones, who's ever driving that car. Right now, we might have the attitude where when we get a quarter of a tank of gas, that's when we stop at the gas station and fill up, right? Some of us might be a little bit more. When we get to a half a tank, we fill up. Our mindset's going to shift a little bit because we're going to be looking more like topping off. When we have our electric vehicle out there and we go into a movie theater, we go into a grocery store to do some shopping, we'll plug in, right? And we'll get a couple percentage points back up while we run into that store. While we charge overnight at our home. Right? Like, what are those questions look like? When are we going to charge? All those sorts of things become more apparent as we get used to it. We might start planning our routes a little differently. We might start understanding, hey, when it's cold out, our battery range goes down a little bit. Because something that happens in internal combustion engines is we take the heat off that engine, and that's how we heat the car in the wintertime. Well, now we're using a battery to supply some of that. And primarily, we have to think about how we're going to be installing these systems. We have to look at installing both level 1, level 2 chargers in our home and talking to a qualified electrical contractor to do that work so that we know that these systems are installed properly the first time and safe for ourselves and our loved ones. And I'll pass this on. I know we'll have some questions. Go back.
Well, next I want to introduce Nick. And Nick, can you do me a favor? I know that if you can talk a little bit, most homeowners, we see homeowners that say, hey, listen, I can do it. I've put in floors, I put in carpet. Can you go a little bit about why this should not be done by themselves, right?
Absolutely. Thank you once again for having us, Connelly Electric, here. A little bit about myself. I am been in the electrical industry for 27 years. I have been an IBEW Local 134 electrician for 16 years. Been in the EV industry for 11 years with over 800 EV installs. As a contractor and in the electrical industry, our number one aspect is safety. And you want to have the contractor that will give you the safest and most cost-effective install. As being a contractor and being in this industry for 11 years, I've seen many issues of improper installations that could have been avoided from proper front-end solutions. So kind of little things to big things that maybe you don't know that I see, and I'm just going to give you a little bit into it. So for either garages, for either residential or commercial, little things like just having a safety bollard or a wheel stop in front of your EV charger. I get at least 12 to 15 calls a year stating that, hey, our EV charger has been damaged because a vehicle ran into it. This could have been a real safe solution with just a wheel stop or a safety bollard. Another huge issue that I always see is improper installation on your infrastructure. First thing you will need to do is know what you have in your residence, in your buildings. You cannot just install an EV charger without knowing what power capabilities that you have. I will receive a call that there was an improper install where EV charging station was installed but is not working. We will come out onto site and find out that, one, it was the wrong voltage brought to this EV charger. Two, the distribution center was not capable of what this EV charger asked for. So now you're dealing with a homeowner that now has to get it installed done twice. And this is the worst thing. So I always say, please do your homework first, all right? Also, technologies with the EV chargers are all expanding. There are new technologies weekly, right? As we all know. You're mixing different voltages with AC, DC, and networking Cat5 cables. You will need a certified electrician with the capabilities to help you in this process. Also, with multi-dwelling, and if you have multiple EV charging stations that will need to be networked, you will need to know what your networking capabilities are in your existing infrastructure. I'll also get probably about 10 calls a year where there's about 5 EV chargers to about 3 EV chargers installed in a parking garage, and they're not connecting. We find out that there was no infrastructure for a cell signal or a Wi-Fi for these EV chargers. So they'll go through the whole install without ever knowing that they needed a cell service or they needed Wi-Fi connection. We will have to come back then and give this network for them. So the biggest thing is to have the planning. And how you do that is you're going to get a Powering Chicago contractor, because they are state licensed and bonded, that also need to be ICC certified with EV ITP certification. In this EV ITP certification, you will have an electrician that has over 8,000 hours in in-field training. That's huge. That's huge. And also, they'll have the classes and certifications that come out. When you have a Powering Chicago contractor, we will work with you at the front end of your project. We will come in and say, okay, what infrastructure do you have? What infrastructure do you need for your EV charger? In your residence, do you have the right voltage? Do you have the right amperage? So it's a huge thing from the start of the game to get the right contractor. And it's been excellent with Power Chicago, what they have been doing for the Chicagoland industry, where they've been able to give you the right contractor for your solutions. The EV industry is just expanding. The Midwest is by far we're like the wild west. East Coast and West Coast, they're already adapted. Midwest has been a slower upro. So you're gonna need the right installer. What we could also do for you is we will help you in the process with rebates and grant programs. We will see what are the newest rebates that are out for you and how we could get you a grant for that. So next time when you're going to get your install, please get it through a Chicago Power contractor. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nick. That's great information. And now, of course, we covered grants, we covered installation, we covered contractors, but what about the equipment? And so here we have Blink representative Gisselle. Please, if you will, share some information about some of the technologies that are out there.
Of course. My name is Gisselle. I'm with Blink Charging. Blink Charging is a leader in supplying EV charging solutions globally. And we're going to talk about a few different things, but essentially this is more of EV charging 101, right? And so let's talk about the types of EV chargers that exist, right? So we're going to talk about level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 essentially is an electrical cable that connects directly into the outlets, the electrical outlets in your home, right, throughout your home. Level 2 chargers are the most common and widely used in commercial spaces. So these do require professional electrical setup and installation. And these are mainly what you see in shopping malls when you're out and about, parking garages, hotels. And then lastly, and we actually have 2 of those commercial level 2 chargers here in the booth, the IQ200 and the Series 8. We also have the home charger, the HQ200, and that's also considered a level 2 charger. And then there's the level 3, also known as the CFC. These chargers use direct current, right? So they enable a lot more power, and they do power quicker. They charge the car quicker. However, that installation and infrastructure is a lot more complex, and you typically see these along highways or in commercial parking lots. And then let's talk about, we talk about home chargers a little bit, right? So when you're in the market for a home charger, you have 2 options to consider. There's level 1, as I mentioned, and there's level 2, right? So level 1, it's the simplest solution. It's a cable that plugs into the electrical outlets in your home, right? So there's no installation costs to accrue for. There's nothing else to factor in. It's simple, you plug in. And many cars still provide that level 1 cable with your car purchase, EV car purchase. Then there's a level 2 charger, right? So the HQ200 with Blink is available, ships with a NEMA plug, where you can plug into a NEMA 1450 outlet. But it can also be installed, it could be hardwired. And so you have the best of both worlds according to what setup you may have at home. Now, if you're not properly set up in your garage or outside of your garage, then you will require the professional assistance of an electrician to set that installation. However, the benefits of having a network level 2 charger are great. You have the option to, it's powered by a 240 volt, and you are going to be able to deliver higher power to your vehicle. And so if you compare a level 2 charger to a level 2, say car batteries, they all differ in different ways, right? And so generally speaking, say with a level 1, you may get, say, 3 miles an hour of charge. With a level 2, we're talking about more, in the range of 40 miles an hour. And so that difference is greater, and it's definitely more convenient, of course. You also have the ability to install the station indoor or outdoor, right? And that's also another benefit. And then lastly, with a level 2 charger, with Blink Charging mobile app, you can really accommodate your charging to your needs. You can manage your session remotely through the app. You can pre-schedule a session, and you can set reminders. You can monitor your kilowatt usage, your energy usage, and then ultimately, even with our station, you can connect to other smart home devices in your home. So the benefits of having a level 2 charger, dedicated home charger, are certainly great. And then lastly, we're talking about, how can drivers really leverage EV charging? It's great that we talked about the home charger, and you can monitor your charging using the Blink mobile app. And that's at home, right? But what happens when you hit the road, right? How do you really get the benefits from from EV charging? So the Blink mobile app also allows you on the road to assist you in searching stations along your way. You plot your route and you know exactly where the stations are. You can set reminders, or set them as a favorite rather, and you can really search for amenities nearby. So the mobile app really is there to help guide the drivers to have an easy and worry-free experience when it comes to EV charging. So.
Thank you. That was some great information. So, of course, we're going to open it up to the audience for a few questions. But I did have a few questions that are typical that I've seen come across from being in this space a lot. And one of the questions is, how much does it cost? We have a contractor in Connelly Electric on the panel, and I would like to push these questions towards him because that's something that everyone asks. And I think that there is an opportunity to be a little bit more forthright here, to just share with the audience so they get a real understanding of what your investment will be.
That's probably one of the biggest questions, right, for all. So there's a difference between how many charging stations. If you're only going to go single residential, cost could go from anywhere from, let's say, $800 to about $2,500, okay? That's for usually residential. If we are going to let's say 2 to 3 level 2 network charging stations, your cost now is going to be coming anywhere between $5,000 to about $9,000. Now, when we go up to the DC fast charging stations, right? DC fast charging stations will talk to maybe 120 kilowatt to about 180. Your cost now is going to go anywhere from $10,000 to possibly $50,000 to $100,000, depending on how much infrastructure you're going to need. So it is very important to do your homework up front before you're going to make your purchase and you're going to do your install. And it's actually, for me as a contractor, the best part of it is it's the beginning, because you want to figure out the solution that is the most cost effective for a homeowner, for a customer. So it's the process of, okay, let's find out what your infrastructure, what do you have, what do you need, and how are we going to get you the best cost, right? We're going to find the best rebates for you. We are going to get you your grant rebates. So all I can say is, as the contractor, do your homework up front. Just do not buy a charging station and say, all right, we're ready to go. You are going to get burned every time. So.
And I got a follow-up question to the infrastructure. So you mentioned a couple of prices. So what can affect those prices when we look at physically how a house is laid out? Because here in Chicago, we have some very challenging and very diverse homes. So what would they look like, for instance, for a single-family home?
So single-family, sometimes if you have, if you do have a garage, right? Sometimes the issue is, okay, in Chicago, sometimes we don't have a backyard. We have a concrete backyard, right? Where it's all concrete. How are we going to get there? So sometimes we will have to notch out the concrete to get a feeder out to your garage. Multi-dwelling units. There's a lot of issues with where your power source is located and where you want your EV charger. Sometimes my best suggestion is to keep your EV chargers as close to your power source as you can. You limit your install cost tremendously. in Chicago, a lot of times in a garage area, you have a lot of aerial cables all over the place where we have to keep everything underground, and you might need directional bore to if you have a garage or whatnot. Also, in your garage spaces, if you do have a networked EV charger, you will have to make sure that you have efficient cellular service. If you do not, we would have to come in and put a cellular repeater for you or a Wi-Fi repeater for you. So those are sometimes the issues that we do face in the residential industry. So like I said before, go with the homework first, work with your contractor, and you get the right solutions.
Great answer, great answer. So when we're talking about the contractors coming and doing the work, putting in the infrastructure, I'm sure there's qualifications, and I want to pose this question to Joe. What are some of the qualifications that separate Power in Chicago members and installers that work with our contractors in terms of making sure that you have a safe quality install?
Absolutely. So thinking about electric vehicle systems, they are electrical systems. The IBEW builds electrical systems. This is what we do. This is our bread and butter. This is what our apprenticeship is based on. This is what all of our journey level workers do every single day. Pipe and wire electrical systems. This is just another aspect of an electrical system, right? So we have all that training that goes into sizing the conductors, sizing the conduit, making sure that we're following the code. All of those sorts of regulations, code following, proper installation methods are there day in and day out with every electrical system we build. So when we step into the electric vehicle space, there's no exceptions there. We follow the same rules, the same codes, all of that to make sure that we're installing a system that is going to be safe, efficient, and effective. So we have the, Nick mentioned the ICC, Illinois Commerce Commission regulation on being certified through there for electric vehicle installations. We have EVITP, Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program, which our members can undergo as well after they become journey level. So there is a significant amount of hours on the job training with all of those systems. And then there's, in addition to that, our local trains heavily on installing these specific electrical systems to make sure that they are going in safe the first time, like Nick mentioned. We're already looking at an investment here, right? If we're gonna pick out any of these vehicles around us today, that's an investment. We want to make sure that we're protecting our investment and having it installed correctly the first time to avoid any sorts of costs that are going to be in addition to that, right? Like Nick said, the last thing you want is to have a system installed twice because it wasn't done right the first time, or you have a safety consideration, right? Like you could have something where someone gets hurt or you hurt the vehicle, you damage something on the vehicle, and now you have more cost there because you didn't understand how it works. So there's a certain level of responsibility as consumers that we have, and we feel that there's an amount of responsibility on us to talk to consumers about these issues, to make sure that they're understood the first time, and we keep everyone safe, and we keep everybody driving the vehicle that they invested in. When we think about that investment, when you buy an internal combustion engine, you have a cost there, and now you're gonna be paying for fuel as you go. When we look at the electric vehicles, the cost to fill up is going to be less, typically. So you're looking at almost a return of investment there, where you can actually pay off this equipment because you are traveling around for a less cost for both your leisure, for vacations, and your daily commute to work. When you start lowering those costs, you start being able to pay off this equipment that we're talking about. Whether, like Nick said, it could be a couple hundreds of dollars or a couple thousands of dollars for a home system. We'd encourage you to look at the calculations to see what it would cost to pay that off as a return of investment, and thinking about how that investment is protected by those contractors and electricians that we represent to get the job right the first time.
Thank you, Joe. Now for the best part. Actually, I saw you raise your hand up. I was actually going to come out and ask the audience if they had any questions, because of course, this is about learning, and we want to make sure that if you're going to invest in this technology, that we answer your questions. So, sir, I'll be right with you.
We don't have electric vehicle now, but we're here looking at gonna maybe in the summer we're building a new house, so we'll have 250 amp circuits. I was just thinking, I guess if you charge two at once, I was gonna ask the minimum like 200 amp panel, because that's a lot of power that you're not able to use for your house.
That is correct. Usually you will, for the new construction, for if you're having your house done 200 amp, yes, absolutely. Yes, that should be the minimum, especially with EV. If you're going to add multiple EV chargers, yes.
Okay, ma'am, here you go.
And to add to that, I apologize. The speakers are facing out, so I had a hard time hearing what the question was. But also think about like what the future would be. I think that might have been part of the question, right? Like in the future, could it be a 2-vehicle house, right? Doing that infrastructure changes at the beginning is going to save you rather than upgrading the panel. Maybe it's 100 amps and you could still get that system in there, but in 5 years you get another vehicle and you would have needed that 200. I apologize. I couldn't hear it, but I hope that. Yeah.
Joe, you're absolutely right. Hey, you. Hot mic. We have done a lot of design build where we'll work with a customer and say, hey, the future, you're going to have multiple EV chargers. We're going to have this infrastructure for that. So what we'll literally do is we'll put in a new service that expands for the future. Now, we might pull our cables and we'll pull our conduits and have everything ready. They might not want it right now, but they have it. And that cost effectiveness, it just, they make the money back just like how Joe said.
And just to add one thing, sorry. When it comes to home charging, so keep in mind that the Safer Blink charging, that unit does have flexible current options. So you're looking at between 12 and 50 amps that you should factor in for one vehicle.
And to add to that as well, so we're talking a lot about single family situations here. If anyone is living in a situation where it's a condo, it's an apartment, and you're involved with any of the decision-making processes around what that infrastructure looks like, start thinking about that future, right? Because right now you might have one electric vehicle that's charging there, but in the next 10 years, as that percentage increases, that's gonna be a serious investment for that building. So anyone involved with homeowners associations or apartments, or if they're a landlord, think about those things as well.
And hi, my name is Yan. I'm interested. Our family interesting to invest the EV charge station. I just looking for the white person guide to us how to start that. And also I have question. And is the government will have the grant to support this for investor EV charge?
Yeah, you're looking at the right person. I'll talk to you after this. Yeah, for grants, it's still there will be grants and state-funded programs that will be coming out. There's some programs that they're still working through right now, and they have not released them. But when they do, you should keep an eye on Illinois.gov and probably weekly take a look and see what they have, because I know in the this year there will be a couple rebates that will be coming out.
Are there any more questions? All right, I have another question, Gisselle, for you. So we're talking about homeowners, and you mentioned something with the capabilities of having variable amperage availability for the charging vehicle. For a homeowner, how would that look for them as far as choosing the right time to maximize that amperage usage, so that when they do choose to get up in the morning and use their vehicle, that they are fully charged?
So every state operates with, within different guidelines, and off-peak, there is such thing as off-peak charging, right? And you do benefit from it because you get lower, it's a lower cost. It could be a lower cost. So EV vehicles, they sometimes allow you for the opportunity to set up that schedule within the vehicle. But when we're talking about EV chargers, then the home charger does allow you as well to set up that charging station. So you can go through the Blink charging mobile app and set that charging station according to the schedule that works for you, whether that's off peak or during the day. And so you can schedule it so that you can benefit according to your needs. You can set it up so that you can benefit most from it.
In other words, they know they're investing in this technology, they know they're investing in this, in the EV infrastructure, they got all of that, but they want to know what their cost savings will be and how to calculate that on a front end, right? And so is there some type of formula or any kind of information that they can use to say, for instance, if I'm spending $4 a gallon and I have a 15-gallon tank. So I know it's going to cost me $60 to fill up my tank, and I do that weekly compared to what the rate is for an EV to charge fully. What will that cost look like? Are there formulas out there that they can use to calculate that to see real cost savings or cost comparables for them?
So I know you sometimes you could go on a Blink site or different EV manufacturers, and they will give you like a kilowatt breakout, like a percent per state. So, and sometimes you could go on Illinois.gov, and they will show you too a kilowatt breakout. And what you will do is you'll do your percent kilowatt breakout, see, okay, how many miles do you think you drive or will in a week? And then you could budget next to your mileages that you go with gas. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. So I would definitely go to like a Blink website where they could give you a little bit of reference, or Illinois.gov will give you reference also.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, great.
All right, good afternoon. So I live in a 72-unit townhome, right? And we're talking about EV charging stations right now. Nick, have you tackled something that large before as far as getting rebates for that?
Multi-dwelling? Yes.
Yes. What's the largest you've done?
For rebates, you mean?
Yes.
So we're working still from last year for the Volkswagen that was up to 350,000. That was the largest.
Not dollar amount, but units.
Units. We did one building downtown. 12 level 2 charging stations.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other information, any other questions for our panelists? No? Well, let me first thank all of you for sharing your information, your insight with the audience. Hopefully you go away today being a little bit more equipped to not only have infrastructure installed and being ready to purchase that vehicle, but making sure that when you do purchase it, that it will work properly for you, and it's a huge investment on the back end. So I want to thank all of you for taking the time. Thank my panelists for being here today. Thank you so much. And please, if you really want to get more information, if you're shy about asking questions on the audience panel with the microphone, please feel free to reach out to them. Again, they're a wealth of knowledge, and we want you to be able to engage with them so that when you do choose that vehicle, it's going to work properly for you. Thank you.